order to get the most out of Sheet Planner, you need to understand the ins and outs of columns. So in this video, we'll take a look at some of the default options for columns in Sheet Planner and how they work. Columns are stacks of cells that are visible in the Sheet Planner outline view that run vertically from the top of the document to the bottom, just like in a spreadsheet application, like Numbers or Excel. While rows allow you to attach information like start dates and durations to a topic, columns allow you to sort or filter that information in ascending or descending order. You can add a value to a cell by clicking on it to select it and then typing or choosing the value based on the type of column selected. Let's take a look at several different types of information that appear in columns and how to sort them. The first types of default columns that we're going to take a look at in Sheet Planner are start and finish dates. These are the dates that a specific task is designated to begin or be finished by. Both of these are date-based columns, and you can assign a date a couple of ways. First, you can click the calendar icon in the cell and then choose a date from the date picker, or you can enter a date via text and it will be converted into a date format when you deselect the cell. You can also apply a date stamp, which will use the current date and time as the value by selecting Date Stamp from the Edit menu or by using the keyboard shortcut Option-Shift-Command-D. You can fill the value for multiple cells at once by selecting a top cell with the value already added and then select a bunch of additional rows that you want to add the value to, then click the Fill Down button in the toolbar or select Fill Down from the Edit menu. The top value will be added to the appropriate column for all the selected rows, eliminating the need to add each value individually and saving you time. The next type of default date-based column is the completed date. This again is a date-based column just like the start and finish dates, but it's worth briefly explaining the difference between the completed date and the finish date. The finish date is the date that you expect the task to be done. It's assigned when planning the project and is basically the planned finish date. But not all projects go exactly according to plan, and that's where the completed date comes in. The completed date is the day that the task was actually completed. Depending on the complexity of the project, you may find that your completed dates end up being very different from the finish dates that you used while planning the project. The next type of default column is the progress column. This is a percentage-based value that can be shown as a bar, percent, or pie in the column view. You can customize the type of view from the inspector, but this column basically shows you how close parts of your project are to being completed. If you have several subtasks associated with a row, then the completion of those subtasks can impact the percentage shown in the parent row unless you overwrite it with a custom value. The next default column type is duration. The duration is simply the amount of time between the start and the finish date. If you already have start and finish dates added to a row, then the duration will be calculated and displayed automatically. Next are the predecessor and successor columns. These show predecessors or successors for individual tasks. Predecessors or successors indicate the tasks that need to be completed before or after the selected task. A predecessor shows you the task that must be completed before the task in the selected row can be worked on, and a successor shows the next task to be done once the selected task is completed. These will only be shown for connected tasks, and the type of connection will be indicated by the icon in the appropriate column. The default connection type used when connecting tasks is finish to start, which means the end or the finish of the previous task, the predecessor, enables the start of the next one, the successor. You can also use start to finish, which connects the start of a task to the finish of another task, or even start to start or finish to finish. You can also choose which default columns are displayed in the outline view. This is handy if you don't want to use all of the default columns. To hide a column, click the menu arrow from the column title and select Hide Column. And you can display hidden columns by clicking on the menu arrow again in a different column and selecting to unhide one of the hidden columns, or you can unhide all the columns, which makes all of the default columns visible in your outline view again. There are a couple other things that you should be aware of when working with columns inside of Sheet Planner. First, just like the Finder, you can use the Shift key or Command key to select and modify multiple cells in a column at once. Holding the Command key while clicking on a new cell will add just that cell to the current selection, while holding the Shift key and clicking on a new cell will select everything in the given range between the currently selected cell and the cell that you just clicked on. You can also choose what happens by default in the selected column when you add a new row to your Sheet Planner document. This is known as the auto enter value and can be customized in the inspector. Every column has a blank default value, but you can also choose Ditto, which will copy the value of your selected row when you create a new one, or from other options that may be available depending on the type of column that is selected. We explain the different options for auto enter in the custom columns video.